we work with a lot of the producers for Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he gives his producers really big cuts. He usually gives them 50%, which is more than we usually see.
Say I'm a new artist, I don't have a society, I haven't signed up to ASCAP or BMI. I can sign up to ASCAP through Songtrust and not pay that registration fee.
Correct. Yeah, we'll get you the affiliation, and then you won't even have to, once people sign up for Songtrust, you don't have to go into your BMI or ASCAP account ever again. You just put the song onto Songtrust. We then update all of the society information and registration, so you're just working out of one account now. And it's a way for us to secure data also, so it prevents any, miscalculation. If you have multiple songs with multiple different splits and co-writers, if you have to put all that information for each song into all these different databases, there's just a high chance that you're going to mess something up, or something's just going to not take the same way. So by putting it into one place, we can package that data, we can make sure that it's clean and it's packaged the way that the societies can accept it, and that everything's just being taken care of in one place.
And do you also facilitate a Harry Fox agency membership too for your users? Because that is confusing. The HFA process, let me just be honest, that's a big old mess.
Yeah, it's half the time their website doesn't even work. So, but yeah, you wouldn't have to affiliate with them since we're affiliated with them. So by putting your song onto Songtrust, we're just going to register all the works. And since we're already affiliated, you wouldn't have to be.
I see. So a lot of musicians have trouble seeing all these different royalty streams and collection agencies in practical terms. How do we make this more accessible?
It's really through Songtrust. I mean, for an independent or someone just going at it on their own to try to do all of this, you need to keep up with, all the new legislation, all the different societies, what their requirements are. A lot of the societies, they have very strict requirements for who they allow to work with them. A lot of the times you have to be produced, have a certain number of songs, and those songs have to generate a certain amount of revenue for them to even want to work with you. So it's nearly impossible to do that. But by going with a publishing administrator like Songtrust, you get access to all of these streams all in one place. All these different sources of income are now all being facilitated through one single platform.
Okay, so Songtrust does consider itself a publishing administrator.
Yeah, we're a publishing administrative service.
So in the same way that Cobalt and what are some other similar publishing administrators? Because there are a lot of larger publishing administrators that the average person just can't sign up to.
Yeah, so there's a big barrier to entry, because the admin type deal used to be only for the cream of the crop. Like, you had to have a lot of clout to be able to get it. So people used to not be able to sign up for this, and there was a big gap in the market, and we saw that, and we wanted to be able to allow everyone to access their publishing royalties without committing to give up their copyright or commit to a long-term deal that demands the catalog. So we basically have a one-year term, but it's a song-by-song basis. So you tell us exactly what you want us to admin for you, and then we'll go out and register it globally for you.
Producers are always asking, because I'm a part of the producer community, they're always asking me how to protect their instrumentals from being stolen and used without their permission. What advice would you give to a producer to either prevent or deal with copyright infringement?
It's really hard. It's really hard to prevent it. I mean, the best way to go about it is to make sure that your songs are registered, even the instrumental versions are registered, and you're attaching all that stuff. Because once you do have the registrations in place, you at least have the authority to be able to issue takedown notices if someone is using your stuff. But unfortunately, the technology really isn't there at scale to be able to fingerprint this type of stuff and then to search all the possible platforms that it could potentially be streaming on. So it becomes very, very hard. And unfortunately, we have to be reactive. We can't really be proactive about it right now. So yeah, it's just a matter of kind of scouring it. And if you do find someone that is using it, it's an opportunity to try to negotiate with them, right? It's like, hey, I'm willing to let you use this beat that I've made, but I want a cut of what's properly mine, right? You're using something that belongs to me, so I need to have ownership on part of this. A lot of the times, if the song's doing well, they'll want to keep the song up there, so they'll negotiate with you, and If they refuse to, you can issue the takedown notice. But a lot of times, yeah, it's just a matter of finding them and trying reaching out to them. And if they don't respond, yeah, just going after them for legal action.
Okay, you said something that inspired this question. It's something I've been dealing with a lot lately. Just this concept of ownership. So, by law, a creator, at least in the U.S. and territories that abide by the same copyright laws, which is quite a few countries, by law, if you create something original piece of music, whether that's a beat, whether those are song lyrics and a melody, you own that on the composition end, and if you record it, you own it on the master side. Now, say someone who owns a beat that they created and someone who owns the lyrics that they created come together. In terms of a very simple standard, it's a 50-50 split, correct?
Yeah, I mean that each one, and yeah, people ask us all the time, like, what is the standard for this? What's the standard for that? Unfortunately, there isn't a standard. That's just decided on a case-by-case basis for every song that's created, what the two creators and collaborators decide on what is appropriate. If the beat is only a very short beat or a very simple beat and, all the work went into the lyrics, it might sway how you want to do the split. So that's really determined. But yeah, you have all the rights. So you are in the position to negotiate what you want that new work to be broken up as.
So to the producers out there, I just think in the production community, there's this idea that when we walk into a scenario in which we're negotiating for our rights, we automatically are in a position we don't have the upper hand, basically, and we're in a position to defend our piece rather than negotiate our piece and negotiate something fair. I think we're used to being told that we might only deserve a certain percentage of the ownership of the, at least on the composer's side.
I always think it's best to discuss this stuff before the creation process, so there's an understanding of both parties of like what everyone's shares should look like. Obviously, if more work goes in and the shares have to be diluted and things like that, that's understandable. But yeah, waiting until after the song is complete to begin that conversation is trickier. It's even harder once the song is released and it's streaming to then come back and be like, oh, I wanted 50% of this song, right? You want to make sure that you set the precedent early and right away that, this is what I want for this song. This is like how much work I put into this. But a lot of times you have to be able to negotiate, because sometimes it's really the artist's name and their reputation that's going to blow the song up, right? So you have to be willing to kind of find a good middle ground of what is still fair to you, but, without making it so they won't use your song. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it goes back to the idea that there's no standard. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, because we work with a lot of the producers for Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he gives his producers really big cuts. He usually gives them 50%, which is more than we usually see. So we are seeing like a trend of, paying the producers the amount that they're rightfully owed. So that's really great to see. A lot of the times they used to be pushed out of the equation, but that's why it's important to really set that precedent early of what you should be owed.
Whenever, even my first placement, I had a pre-sample split of 50%, and that's with a major. I found that it's a lot of, I guess, unsigned or independent artists that are more inclined to negotiate away or negotiate for a larger piece of the composition. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, changing gears, because you brought something up too, and this is something else that I know very little about, and I've been getting bombarded with questions about the Music Modernization Act. I know this is super complicated. I don't want to open a can of worms, but for the independent rapper, the independent producer, what are the implications of this new legislation?
So it's complicated. There's a lot of different things that are happening with it. I wouldn't hold your breath for anything. It's going to be years and years and years from now until they actually. But what they're doing is they're creating an entity that's going to issue mechanical licenses for digital streaming platforms. And this way, Spotify was tired of getting sued for not having the proper copyright and licensing to be able to play music, and then songwriters were getting upset because they weren't being properly compensated. So there's going to be a body within the U.S. only that is going to kind of moderate this, almost like a Harry Fox in a way, but it's being run by both publishers and by by streaming platforms. But basically, it's there to set fair rates for producers and artists and anyone with writing credits on the songs. But it's really going to be targeted to a very niche market. So it's really, from my understanding is it's going to be for like Spotify premium subscribers that fall within like a standard model. That's when these rates will apply through this new mechanical agency. So there's still going to be a lot of variables. You're still going to need to sign up with different agencies. It's not going to be like, oh, I can just go to this one place and cover my mechanicals. You're still going to need to associate and affiliate and register your works with all these agencies throughout the world. Okay, so you think people got a little prematurely excited for this? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big win, but it really, until if you see it fold out and see what it really is going to look like, no one really knows what this is going to entail or who it's really going to benefit the most. So a lot of these royalty streams, good example would be microsyncs, right? Those are new compared to performance royalties, quite new because of the digital age. Are you aware of any new emerging royalty streams? Nothing really newer than that. I mean, outside the U.S., if you're not a U.S. citizen, you're entitled to something what's called neighboring rights. That's a whole nother thing that's kind of been around for a while, but it's just not as common. Here we don't have them. What we have is performance royalties on the master composition, and that's what like companies like SoundExchange are collecting on. So there's nothing really new. It's just different platforms that are now paying royalties that used to not pay them, right? And then who they're paying the licensing to is really important, because now they might not just be paying it to Harry Fox Agency. It might be going to MRI. And if you don't have your registrations at MRI, all these different places are now collecting from all these different platforms. Like SoundCloud is paying MRI directly for their monetization of the streaming that used to not occur on that platform. So it's really just different platforms that are now monetizing, but the royalty streams the type of royalties are still the same. Okay, so once again, I know a lot of musicians are watching this and they're curious to know more about Songtrust and possibly sign up. How would they do that? What's the best way? Yeah, we don't have any barrier to entry. You can sign up for Songtrust if you have 1% cut on one song. You can work with us. But you just go to our website and just songtrust.com. You'll be able to join in the top right. There's a one-time registration fee per writer of $100, and then you'll be able to create your account. And then we have a 15% commission for the publisher share of the royalties we bring in. So if you think of like BMI and ASCAP, they're paying both for the performance, the publisher share and the writer share, which is the 50-50 split here in the US. The writer share is always going to go directly to you through your society. The publisher share is what we're now going after on a global scale, right? So yeah, once you create your account, you'll be able to add yourself as a songwriter. If you have the PRO affiliation already, you can just tell us what PRO and enter that IPI number we talked about. If you don't have the PRO affiliation, we can affiliate you through the platform with BMI or ASCAP. And then you just begin adding your songs. The whole process takes no more than 10 to 15 minutes. And then the songs are being globally registered. Publishing does take much, much longer than the master side to collect on, because we're dealing internationally with all these different societies. So we package the data and send it out. Now we're going to have to wait for the societies to ingest this data, acknowledge it, send us back confirmations of that. Then they have to collect the money based on the data we've sent them, and then they only pay out to us quarterly or every 6 months. So there's a long timetable to get that first royalty payment. We usually safely say 6 to 9 months, and you'll start seeing royalties for publishing. So it is really important that you get the process going as soon as possible, because the more you delay, the more you have to go retroactively try and get this stuff. But if your music has been streaming and you haven't registered your work globally, our safe bet is we can go back 2 to 3 years to collect on retroactive money that's been at these societies. If you don't like the societies will hold it for that amount of time, and if no one's claiming the money, what they do is it's called black box royalties, and basically they give it out to the top 10% earners at their society as a bonus. So if you don't collect your money, it will be given out to the top 10% earners in the industry. So Kanye West and Beyonce and Taylor Swift will get the money if you don't collect it. So it's really important to get the registrations done as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's the reverse Robin Hood effect.
Exactly.
So for somebody like me who already has music out, who's already registered to a PRO and has been collecting directly through them, if I sign up for Songtrust, I can register individual titles as I choose, and you would just work to collect on those particular titles, right?
Yep, there's no catalog requirement. So you just tell us whatever you put onto the Songtrust platform is what we'll be administering on your behalf. But yeah, if you have over 30 titles at your society already, we can actually do an import of your catalog from them. So you can just download your catalog and that will have all the splits, and then we'll just re-upload it into your account. So you don't have to like manually go through all those tracks.
Cool, man. Well, once again, thanks for opening this Pandora's box of publishing with me. Songtrust.com is the website. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your expertise.
Of course. Thanks for having me.